very much. We will now go to our public witnesses. We appreciate your patience as the committee asks these questions of the leadership of the library. Ralph Nader is here. I don't see Congressman Owens. I don't think he's here. But Mr. Nader, you may come forward. I will say for the record, as Mr. Nader comes forward, that he has met with members of the council and the mayor. And we appreciate your commitment to the libraries and the energy that you've brought to supporting the libraries. We're glad that you are here, and the council is committed to working with you to make sure that we not only sustain library funding, but grow library funding. So we're glad you're here this morning.
Thank you very much, Chairman Chavis and members of the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Recreation. I'd like to submit my testimony in its entirety for the record with your permission, and then summarize it.
It is received. Thank you.
Thank you. The DC Library Renaissance Project, which I started in early January, is designed to expand the help and support of efforts of many citizens in the district to restore and revitalize the DC library system. And we can see today from all over the district, in ward after ward and branch after branch, this community has really turned out. The problem is that the library budget has never been seen as a power budget, as other budgets in the district have been seen. We have met with Mayor Williams, who kindly gave us the better part of an hour to discuss this. I've talked with John Koskinen, who's in charge of the budget, a couple times, having known him when he was working on Capitol Hill many years ago. And the response basically was, well, it's good that this mobilization is going on in the community, and certainly nobody resists the arguments that the DC budget for the library has to be restored. We're not talking about an increase, we're talking about back pay, in effect, a restoration, because in the 1965 it was 1.4% of the DC budget. It's now 0.65 and dropping. By comparison with other cities, the DC library budget allows $4 for books per capita. In Boston, it's $11 per capita. In Cleveland, it's $21 per capita. So we have a situation where there are overwhelming arguments supporting what should be irresistible community values and services. So why doesn't it get done? So I'm having trouble understanding how, after meeting with the mayor, he can send this devastating attack on the DC library system to the council when I thought at least it would hold the line. And so I can only explain the mayor's motivation is he wants to really galvanize the ire of the community here, to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I've read his statements on the library, vision statements. Nobody could write them better about the importance of the library to the culture of the district, to the children, to the literacy advance, which is one of his highest priorities. And still we had this cut. Now, I mentioned to him that if he had trouble in deficit times to restore the budget, we could point out some areas of the district budget that were wasted or foregone revenues. And he said he would like to see that. I said, well, all we have to do is read the Washington Post. All you have to do is see how $50 million of foregone revenue were incurred by the district because they didn't charge the cable companies early enough and adequately enough for ripping up the roads in the city, not to mention the effects on the axles of cars by city residents. All you have to do is look at the $34 million flop from the infamous payroll data system situation, where the Washington Post said the price tag for one of the most bungled mismanagement undertakings in district government history, $34 million. It's doubtful that the entire DC jail population ever stole that much money. This is from the editorial of the Washington Post, continuing, the depth of the blunder is almost beyond comprehension. And then we have the DC revitalization project, the urban revival, $100 million failure there. So it goes on and on. And of course, if the DC library budget is stalled, the inquiry into the overall DC government expenditure pattern will be expanded. I mean, I don't know why the DC government had to pay a gentleman $180 an hour to fill an immediate need for the school system. $180 an hour. So the call for Mayor Williams is, you want to fight, you're going to get it. That's what it really comes down to. We have sent our organizers to branches all over the city. We have sent photographers all over the city. It is appalling. It is beyond appalling. Scenes of reading rooms through bullet holes that were there for 2 years. The surroundings from these libraries, horrible in terms of children trying to enter some of these branches. Dedicated staff trying to deal with incredibly aborted budgets and facilities. Miss Davis in a kiosk in D.C. A woman who is a surrogate teacher, a surrogate helper for these students, surrounded by a few books in a kiosk, trying to make the best of it. Rain, shine, or snow. These are the kind of scenarios that the Washington Post has described in some of its writings. But this has been going on for years. There has been a steady decline in the D.C. budget, absolutely and relatively, for years now, and it's time for a major wake-up call. The libraries in the District of Columbia represent the fiber of the community. They're in the neighborhoods. They're not a tax-subsidized stadium. They're not a one-time heavyweight prize fight. They're not an annual auto race. There are people who can help others find out about the world. And that's what librarians and their assistants do. They provide safe havens for children whose parents work. Now the mayor said that when he was trying to get elected in 1998, that he understood the libraries were the most important places, quote, where children want to go to read and learn, end quote, and promised to fix an already broken system. And he cited broken chairs, leaky roofs, inadequate lighting, outdated books, and technology. And when our photographer went around these branches, he found the same condition as in 1998, or even worse. The mayor didn't fix things. He made them worse. He took and took from the library. And the reason is that the community has not been muscular enough to demand a reversal. There are 200 fewer employees now than in the 1970s for the whole library system. I mean, that's a very telling statistic right there. And the library system has had to do more than in the 1970s. You've heard the district budget figures, and I won't repeat them. But in the District of Columbia, libraries are especially important. Here are two cities, the affluent city with the booming K Street construction, etc., contrasted with the part of the city mired in poverty and deprivation. And for the poor of this second city, the libraries furnish essential services. They provide safe havens for children in the district who have working parents. They help children with homework in homework centers. They provide information to immigrants, reading programs for children, and literacy programs for adults. The cuts in the budget now being considered most disproportionately impact the poorest communities in the district. If the libraries are indeed closed or shortened hours, will further deny public services to residents who cannot afford to pay for them otherwise. We are told that there's a 37% functional adult illiteracy rate in the District of Columbia, and the mayor wants to make this a high priority. So you cut the libraries? The mayor is concerned for the welfare of the poor in the district and is likely that the illiterate are also the poor. So you cut the libraries? The mayor wants jobs, good jobs in the district, jobs that only the literate can fill. So you cut the libraries? The mayor wants to attract 100,000 literate people to the district. Is he abandoning nearly 100,000 functionally illiterate residents of the district today so that companies will locate here? But soon there may be no functioning library system. We have spoken with the Librarian of Congress, James Billington. He has written an urgent letter to the mayor and will convey his concerns to the committee here in due time. Alice Rivlin, whose concern for the district is legendary, sees the restoration of libraries as part of her overall DC revitalization efforts, working with the council and the mayor. Maxine Singer, who has just left her post as head of the Carnegie Institution and had a Science for the Children program here in the district, is very keenly supportive of a revitalization effort. Our organizers, Leonard Minsky and Crystal Carnesi, are meeting with friends groups and library trustee people and many of the people in the neighborhood today. Let me just conclude with this point. I've been in many cities in this country where I have had to meet the rich and the powerful. And at their best, they recognize a notion known as noblesse oblige. There are many people in this city who are rich and powerful, who've come from other parts of the country, who have yet even to recognize their obligation as noblesse oblige. And it's time not only for the neighborhoods represented by these good people here to mobilize to a cutting edge of laser-like intensity, but it's also time for many of those rich lawyers, those rich trade association executives, those rich real estate operations, many of whom send you cards about their latest $1 million home sale without telling you that they take 6% of that. These are boom times for the rich and the powerful in the district, and we're calling out for them to form an effort to make sure that they also lend their hand to make the DC Library System a dazzling beacon of light in 27 localities in our country. I'm pleased to note that one law firm has stepped up, Hogan and Hartson, and is doing very critical research about all the problems of private donations not being able to be sent directly to the library and other murky aspects of the rather unusual legal status of the DC library system. And we call on the rich and the powerful to step up here, because this is a tangible objective with the cooperation of the council and you, Mr. Chairman, to really make a turnaround here in a relatively short period of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nader. Again, your energy and your enthusiasm and your leadership is needed, and